Do not listen. Feel it. Cole Bennett said the words softly, even though he knew Ava Sterling could not hear them. The 10-year-old girl sat at the long demonstration table beneath the bright lights of the Sterling Foundation auditorium, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. Another hearing technology showcase had failed. Another specialist had smiled too carefully. Another room full of wealthy donors had watched her like disappointment was something she had caused. Madison Sterling stood 3 feet away, perfectly dressed, perfectly composed, and completely helpless. "That is enough," she said sharply. In the demonstration, technicians began removing cables. A doctor lowered his tablet. Someone whispered, "Poor girl." Ava saw the lips move. Her expression hardened. Cole saw that too. He was not supposed to be near the stage. He was there to fix a vibration in the floor-mounted lighting panel before the evening reception. Gray work shirt, dark pants, toolbox in one hand. To most people in the auditorium, he was just maintenance. Then he noticed Ava tapping 2 fingers against the edge of the table. Tap, pause, tap, pause. Not random. She was following the vibration from a speaker that had been disconnected seconds earlier. Cole stopped. Madison noticed him staring. "Can I help you?" He looked at her. "Maybe." Her eyes narrowed. "You are facilities." "Yes, ma'am." "Then please let the medical team handle this." Cole nodded once. No offense. No argument. Ava kept tapping the table. Cole looked at the wooden surface, then at his toolbox. Something old moved behind his eyes. Memory. Training. A different life. Madison stepped between him and Ava. "Mr. Bennett." "Cole." "Mr. Bennett, my daughter has profound hearing loss. She does not need another person experimenting on her." Cole's expression changed. Not anger. Something quieter. "I agree." Madison blinked. "Then why are you still standing here?" Cole looked at Ava. "Because she is not listening to the room. She cannot hear the room." "That is not what I said." The nearby technicians went still. Madison's face cooled. "Explain." Cole set his toolbox carefully on the floor. "She is tracking vibration." The audiologist frowned. "Children with hearing loss can respond to tactile vibration. That does not mean, I know." Cole interrupted gently. "I am not saying it means anything medical." That answer changed the room. He was not pretending to be a doctor. He was not selling a miracle. He was observing. Ava looked at him now. Cole pointed to the table, then tapped the surface twice. She watched his hand. He tapped again. Ava answered with 2 taps of her own. Madison froze. "What are you doing?" Cole did not look away from Ava. Asking permission. He reached into his toolbox and pulled out a small black device. Old, scratched, carefully wrapped in cloth. The audiologist leaned forward. "What is that?" Cole turned it in his hand. "A bone-conduction communication unit. Old military equipment." Madison stared at him. "Military?" Cole ignored the question. He placed the device on the table without bringing it near Ava. "This is not treatment," he said, "and nobody uses it on her without a professional checking it first." The audiologist picked it up cautiously. "Where did you get this?" Cole's jaw tightened. "Another life." Ava was watching every movement. Cole took a pencil from the table and wrote 4 words on a notepad. "Do you want to try?" Ava read them. She looked at Madison, then at the audiologist, then back at Cole. Slowly, she nodded. Madison's breath caught. For months, doctors had asked Ava to cooperate. Specialists had asked her to perform. Donors had asked her to inspire them. Cole had asked only one thing. "What do you want?" The audiologist inspected the device, then looked at Cole with growing curiosity. "You know how to use this?" Cole met her eyes. "Yes." "How?" He said nothing. Madison stepped closer. "Who exactly are you?" Cole looked at Ava, then at the worn black device resting between them. A single dad who used to work in very loud places. Then Ava reached out and touched the device with 1 finger, and the entire auditorium seemed to forget how to breathe. The audiologist did not let Ava use the device that afternoon. That was the first thing Cole respected about her. She turned the old unit over in both hands, checked the contact surface, examined the worn cable, and finally looked at Madison. "This is not something I am comfortable fitting without testing." Madison nodded immediately. "Then we do not." Ava watched their faces. Cole reached for the notepad and wrote, "Not today." Ava read it, then looked at him. Her shoulders dropped. Not disappointment. Relief. Nobody was forcing the moment forward. The auditorium slowly emptied. Donors disappeared into the reception hall. Technicians packed equipment into black cases. Madison stayed near the table while Ava traced one finger over the edge of the notepad. Cole picked up his toolbox. "You are leaving?" Madison asked. He looked at her. "My shift ended 20 minutes ago. You started this." "No, ma'am." His eyes moved toward Ava. "She did." Madison folded her arms. "You know what I mean." Cole gave a faint nod. "The audiologist has the device. She should decide what happens next. And if she says it is useless, then it is useless." Madison seemed surprised. "That's simple." "It should be." Ava tapped the table twice. Cole looked over. She pointed toward him, then toward the chair beside her. He hesitated. Madison noticed. "She wants you to sit." Cole sat. Ava pulled the notepad closer and wrote slowly. "Why did you have it?" Cole read the question. His expression changed. He wrote back, "Old job." Ava frowned and added another word. "What job?" Cole stared at the page for several seconds, then wrote, "Navy." Ava's eyes widened. She wrote, "Soldier?" Cole shook his head and printed, "Sailor. Special unit." Madison watched from across the table. "You were military." Cole looked up. "Yes." "How long?" "Long enough." "That is not an answer." "It is the one I have." Madison's jaw tightened, but Ava had already written another question. "Did you use this to hear?" Cole smiled slightly. "No. To communicate when normal sound was difficult." Ava read the words twice. Then she pointed to herself. Cole understood. He wrote carefully, "Your hearing is different. This may not help. A doctor must decide." Ava nodded. No false hope. No miracle. Just truth. That evening, Madison found herself thinking about that more than the device. Every specialist she hired had tried to offer possibility. Cole had offered limits. Somehow, Ava trusted him more for it. 2 days later, the Foundation audiologist, Dr. Rachel Monroe, asked Madison and Ava to return for a private evaluation. Cole was replacing a light fixture in the adjacent hallway when Rachel found him. "Mr. Bennett." Cole looked down from the ladder. "Doctor, I tested the old unit. And outdated, but the principle is sound." "That is not the same as saying it is right for Ava." Rachel smiled. "You really do not want credit, do you?" "Credit will not change her hearing." Rachel studied him. Her imaging and previous testing suggest she may respond to a modern bone conduction system, but we need more evaluation. Her case is complex. Cole nodded. "Then evaluate." Madison asked if you would be present. His expression tightened. "Why?" "Because Ava asked for you." Cole looked through the glass into the testing room. Ava sat beside Madison, watching the door. "I am not medical staff." "Nobody is asking you to be." "Then what am I there for?" Rachel glanced toward Ava. Apparently, trust. 10 minutes later, Cole entered the room and sat against the far wall. Ava looked relieved immediately. Rachel fitted a temporary clinical testing device according to protocol. Madison stood beside her daughter but did not touch her. Cole kept his hands folded. Rachel signed and spoke slowly so Ava could follow. "We are not trying to make you hear normally. We are only testing what your body can detect." Ava nodded. The first signal produced nothing. The second, nothing. The third made Ava pause. Rachel adjusted the setting. Ava's eyes widened. She lifted one hand to the side of her head. Madison stopped breathing. Rachel asked, "Did you feel something?" Ava nodded. Then Rachel activated a low, controlled voice signal through the device. Ava's face changed completely. Not recognition. Not yet. Something between vibration and sound, unfamiliar and fragile. She looked toward Cole. He did not smile. He only wrote one sentence on the pad and held it where she could see. "You do not have to prove anything." Ava read it. Then she looked at Madison. Her mother was crying silently. Ava reached across the table and took her hand. Rachel lowered the setting. "That is enough for today." Madison wiped her face. But she responded. Rachel nodded. She did. "So this can work?" "Maybe. We need proper fitting, more tests, and realistic expectations." Madison looked at Cole. "You saw this before anyone." He shook his head. "I saw her tapping a table. That changed everything." Cole looked at Ava. "No. It opened a door. She still decides whether to walk through it." Ava looked down at their joined hands, then wrote something on the notepad and pushed it toward her mother. Madison read the words and froze. "Do not make this a miracle. Just stay." Over the next week, Ava's evaluation continued in small steps. No dramatic breakthroughs. No promises. Just careful testing, adjustment, rest, and another appointment. Dr. Rachel Monroe made that clear from the beginning. We are looking for consistent response, not one exciting moment. Madison nodded, though patience did not come naturally to her. Ava sat at the testing table with the temporary bone conduction device resting against the side of her head, watching Rachel's hands and reading her lips. Cole stood near the back wall, exactly where Ava had asked him to stand. Not beside her, not hovering, just there. Rachel activated a low tone. Ava raised one finger. Another tone. She raised it again. Rachel changed the frequency. Ava hesitated, then shook her head. Madison leaned forward. Did she miss it? Rachel looked at her. She told us what she detected. That is the point. Madison immediately sat back. Ava glanced at her mother. Cole noticed. He took the notepad and wrote, "Wrong answers are not required here." Ava read it and smiled faintly. Rachel saw the message and nodded. Exactly. Madison looked at Cole. You always have something written down? He lifted the pen. Words work better when everyone gets to receive them. The answer stayed with her. Later that morning, Ava asked Cole to walk with her through the foundation courtyard while Rachel prepared the next test. Madison followed several feet behind. Ava communicated mostly through signs she had used for years, mixed with written notes when Cole did not understand. He never pretended to know more than he did. When he missed a sign, he stopped and pointed to the notepad. Ava corrected him. No embarrassment. No frustration. How do you know sign language? Madison asked. Cole looked back. I know some. From the Navy? Some from service. More from my daughter. Madison slowed. Your daughter is deaf? Cole shook his head. No. Hannah had a friend in elementary school who was. She wanted to learn. I learned enough to keep up. Ava wrote quickly and held up the page. Is Hannah nice? Cole smiled. Most days. Ava wrote again. Does she boss you around? Every day. Ava laughed without sound, shoulders shaking. Madison stopped walking for a second. She had not seen that kind of laughter in weeks. Cole did not react to it. He kept moving beside Ava at her pace. That afternoon, Rachel introduced a modern clinical bone conduction system designed specifically for testing. She explained every step to Ava before touching the equipment. Cole stayed outside the room this time because Ava had not asked him in. Madison noticed that too. Boundaries were not something he preached only when convenient. He lived inside them. The test began. Ava detected vibration at several settings. Then Rachel introduced a controlled voice sample, carefully calibrated and repeated. Ava frowned. She touched the device. Rachel tried again. Something changed in Ava's face. Her eyes widened. She looked at Madison. Madison instinctively leaned closer. What? Ava did not answer. Rachel lowered the volume. Take your time. Ava reached for the notepad. Her hand trembled slightly as she wrote. It is not words. Madison read it. Her hope dropped for half a second. Then Ava kept writing. But it feels like a voice. Madison covered her mouth. Rachel remained calm. That is useful information. Ava looked toward the glass wall where Cole was repairing a loose panel outside. He was not watching. Ava tapped on the glass. Cole looked up. She held the notepad against the window. It feels like a voice. Cole read it. He smiled once and signed the only phrase Ava had taught him clearly enough to use without hesitation. Your choice. Ava stared at him. Then she nodded. That evening, Madison found Cole in the maintenance room cleaning his tools. She asked for another session tomorrow. Cole nodded. Good. That is all. What do you want me to say? That this is extraordinary. He looked at her. It is important. You refuse to call anything a miracle. Because miracles make people feel like they owe the room a performance. Madison became quiet. Cole continued. Ava already spent too much time being watched. You really understand that. His eyes shifted toward an old photograph tucked inside his locker, showing a younger Cole beside a little girl with dark hair. Madison noticed. Hannah. Yes. She looks happy. She is. And you? Cole closed the locker. Still learning. Madison looked at him for a long moment. What happened to you in the Navy? His expression changed immediately. The door closed behind his eyes. Another life. You keep saying that. Because it is true. And the device came from that life. Cole picked up his toolbox. Yes. Then maybe that life is not finished with you. He stopped. Not because she had solved anything. Because the sentence touched somewhere he had kept quiet for years. Cole looked back toward the testing wing. Maybe. Then he walked away, leaving Madison alone with a new question. Ava's world was beginning to open in ways nobody had expected. But Cole Bennett was still standing at the edge of his own. The next morning, Ava arrived before Dr. Rachel Monroe had finished preparing the testing room. She carried her notepad under one arm and the serious expression of someone who had spent the entire night thinking about a single question. Madison followed a few steps behind, coffee untouched in her hand. Cole was already in the hallway replacing a loose wall plate. Ava stopped beside him and wrote quickly, "Can I hear Mom?" Cole read the sentence twice. His face softened. Then he pointed toward Rachel through the glass and wrote beneath Ava's words, "Ask her." Ava frowned. "You know." Cole shook his head. "I know communication equipment. She knows you're hearing." Ava looked disappointed. Madison watched quietly. A week earlier, she might have stepped in and answered for her daughter. This time she waited. Ava turned toward Rachel and held up the notepad. Rachel came closer. "Maybe," she said carefully, signing as she spoke. "But we need to define what here means for you." Ava looked confused. Rachel sat beside her. "You might detect rhythm, vibration, parts of tone, maybe some speech patterns, maybe not words." Ava wrote, "I want to try Mom." Rachel nodded. "Then we try Mom." Cole returned to the wall plate. Madison looked at him. "You are not staying?" "She did not ask me. She probably assumes you will." Cole looked at Ava through the glass. "Assuming trust is a good way to lose it." The sentence landed quietly. Madison lowered her eyes. "You really live by that." "I try." Inside the testing room, Rachel positioned the modern clinical device and confirmed the settings. Ava sat straight, hands folded tightly in her lap. Madison entered and took the chair across from her. "What do I say?" she asked. Rachel smiled. "Something familiar." "Short." Madison looked at Ava. For a moment, the billionaire who could speak comfortably to thousands of employees had no idea what to say to her own child. Then she said, "Good morning, sweetheart." Rachel transmitted the voice signal through the calibrated system. Ava's eyes moved. "Not recognition. Not yet." Rachel adjusted the level slightly. Madison repeated, "Good morning, sweetheart." Ava touched the side of her head. Her brows pulled together. She looked at Rachel, then at Madison. Madison's breath caught. "Again?" Rachel asked. Ava nodded. Madison swallowed. "Good morning, sweetheart." Ava stared at her mother's face while the signal reached her through vibration and sound in a way she had never experienced before. Then she reached for the notepad. "It feels different when it is her." Madison read the sentence and covered her mouth. Rachel remained steady. "Different how?" Ava wrote slowly. "Softer." Rachel nodded. "That is useful." Madison's eyes filled. Ava looked worried immediately. Cole, watching from the hallway now, noticed. Madison saw him through the glass. He gave the smallest shake of his head. "Do not make her carry your reaction." Madison understood. She wiped her eyes and smiled. "I am okay." Ava studied her. Madison signed the words too. "I am okay." Ava relaxed. Rachel continued for another 10 minutes, then stopped. "Enough for today." Madison looked at the device. She was responding. "Yes." "Can we keep going?" Ava's shoulders tightened. Rachel noticed. Cole noticed. Madison noticed last. She closed her eyes briefly. "No," she said. "Enough means enough." Ava looked at her mother, surprised. Madison smiled. "You do not owe me more." Ava reached across and squeezed her hand. Later, Madison found Cole near the loading entrance tightening a bracket on a utility cart. "You warned me without saying anything." Cole glanced up. "You caught it yourself." "Barely." "Barely counts." Madison leaned against the wall. "I almost turned it into proof." "Of what?" "That all the money, all the doctors, all the searching had finally worked." Cole set down the wrench. "Ava is not evidence that you were a good mother." Madison looked at him sharply. He continued before she could defend herself. "She is your daughter. That is enough." The sting in the words came from their truth, not cruelty. Madison looked toward the testing wing. "I keep wanting her progress to mean I did something right." Cole's voice softened. "Parents do that. You too." He looked down at his hands. "Every day. With Hannah. Especially with Hannah." Madison waited. Cole was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "After her mother died, Hannah stopped talking to me for weeks." Madison's expression changed. "Why?" "Because I kept trying to fix grief like it was equipment. Schedules. Schedules. Counseling appointments. Activities. Goals. Did any of it help?" "Some of it." He paused. "But she told me later the first thing that actually helped was when I sat beside her and admitted I did not know what to do." Madison looked at him. "That sounds familiar." Cole gave a faint smile. Unfortunately, before she could ask more, a man's voice came from behind them. Chief Bennett. Cole froze. Madison turned. A silver-haired man in a dark navy blazer stood near the service door, looking at Cole with unmistakable recognition. Cole's posture changed instantly. Straighter. Older somehow. Admiral Mercer. The man smiled. Thought that was you. Madison looked between them. Chief. Cole's jaw tightened. Mercer glanced at her, then back at Cole. You never told them? Cole picked up his wrench. There was nothing to tell. Mercer's expression softened. That is not how I remember it. Ava appeared at the far end of the hallway with Rachel, holding her notepad. She saw the two men, then looked at Cole. Madison did not ask the question this time. She waited. And Cole, for the first time since arriving at the foundation, looked like a man whose quiet past was no longer willing to stay hidden. Admiral Mercer did not step closer right away. He looked at Cole the way people look at a photograph they thought had been lost, with recognition first and question second. It has been a long time, Mercer said. Cole gave one quiet nod. Yes, sir. Madison stood several feet away, watching the exchange with a different kind of attention now. Ava had reached the hallway with Rachel and stopped beside her mother, notepad held against her chest. Mercer glanced toward them, then back at Cole. You working here? Maintenance. Of course you are. Cole's mouth tightened. What is that supposed to mean? Mercer smiled faintly. You always preferred useful work to impressive work. Madison looked at Cole. Useful, not impressive. Somehow that sounded exactly right. Mercer noticed the old communication unit on a nearby cart, where Rachel had placed it after testing. His expression changed. I have not seen one of those in years. Rachel stepped forward. You recognize it? Used variations of it with special operations teams. Madison's eyes moved immediately to Cole. Special operations? Cole exhaled slowly. Mercer looked at him. You really told them nothing. There was nothing they needed to know. Ava opened her notepad and wrote one word. Seal? She turned it toward Cole. He stared at it for a moment, then nodded. Ava's eyes widened. Madison said nothing. Cole looked at her and seemed almost relieved that she did not rush to fill the silence. Mercer folded his hands behind his back. Chief Petty Officer Bennett served with Naval Special Warfare for years. Cole's jaw tightened. That is enough. Mercer respected the boundary immediately. Fair. Ava wrote another question. Is that why you knew the device? Cole nodded. Partly. Rachel looked thoughtful. And the rest? Cole glanced toward Ava. Because equipment is only useful if you notice what the person using it actually needs. Madison heard the sentence differently than she would have a week earlier. She had spent years buying the best devices, the best specialists, the best rooms, believing quality meant control. Cole had noticed a child tapping a table. Mercer looked toward the testing room. Is this helping her? Rachel answered before Cole could. We are evaluating a modern system. She is showing consistent responses, but we are still establishing what those responses mean. Mercer nodded. Good answer. Ava smiled. Cole looked at her notepad. She had started writing again. Were you scared? He read it. When? She pointed toward Mercer, then toward the word seal. Cole understood. He took the pen. Sometimes. Ava read his answer, then looked surprised. She wrote, I thought seals do not get scared. Cole's face softened. He wrote beneath it, courage is not the absence of fear. It is deciding fear does not get every vote. Ava stared at the sentence for several seconds. Madison did too. Mercer quietly looked away, giving the moment privacy. Later that afternoon, after Rachel completed another short session, Ava asked to test Madison's voice again. This time she detected the signal faster. Not clearly, not perfectly, but consistently enough that Rachel recorded the result twice before stopping. That is progress, Rachel said. Madison's eyes filled, but she remembered. She did not turn Ava into a celebration. She simply signed, Are you okay? Ava nodded. Then she signed back, Again tomorrow. Madison smiled. Tomorrow. Outside the room, Mercer was waiting for Cole. There's a veterans family dinner next month, he said. Bring Hannah. Cole shook his head immediately. She has school. It is a Saturday. She has a life. Mercer studied him. So do you. Cole looked away. I am fine. That was never your best lie. Cole gave him a tired look. Mercer lowered his voice. You came home, raised your daughter, kept moving, and disappeared into honest work. There is dignity in that. But disappearing and healing are not always the same thing. Cole did not answer. Madison, approaching from the far end of the hallway, heard only the last sentence. She stopped before they noticed her. There it was again, the same lesson appearing in different lives. Ava had hidden inside silence because the world kept demanding proof. Madison had hidden inside control because uncertainty terrified her. And Cole had hidden inside usefulness because being needed was easier than being known. That evening, Ava handed Cole a folded note before leaving. He opened it after she and Madison reached the elevator. It contained only 6 words. Maybe you should try again too. Cole looked up. Ava was watching through the closing doors. She raised one hand in a small wave. Cole stood alone in the quiet hallway, the note between his fingers, and for once the man who always knew how to steady everyone else had no idea what to do with the truth. The note stayed in Cole's pocket for 3 days. He did not mention it to Ava. He did not mention it to Hannah. But on Saturday morning, while standing in his kitchen with a mug of coffee growing cold beside him, he finally unfolded it again. Maybe you should try again too. Hannah walked in wearing an oversized sweatshirt and carrying a bowl of cereal. She looked at the note, then at her father. You have been reading that thing all week. Cole folded it carefully. Have not. Hannah raised one eyebrow. You are a terrible liar. Cole almost smiled. Admiral Mercer invited us to a veterans family dinner next month. Hannah stopped chewing. Are we going? I was going to ask you. You were going to avoid asking me. Cole looked at her. Hannah shrugged. Dad, you do that thing where you make a decision for me and then call it protecting me. The words hit harder than she intended. Or maybe exactly as hard. Cole looked down at the table. You want to go? I want the choice. Silence filled the kitchen. Then Cole nodded. Fair. Hannah smiled. Then yes. I want to go. At the foundation that Monday, Ava was already in the testing room when Cole arrived for work. Rachel had upgraded the clinical setup and was reviewing several weeks of results with Madison. The responses were becoming more consistent. Ava could detect certain frequencies and distinguish some patterns through bone conduction, but Rachel remained careful. This is not normal hearing, she said, and I do not want anyone expecting that. Madison nodded. Neither do I. Rachel looked pleasantly surprised. That is new. Madison smiled faintly. I am learning. Ava noticed Cole through the glass and waved. He waved back, but did not enter. A few minutes later, Ava held up her notepad. Come in. Cole stepped inside and took his usual chair against the wall. Rachel adjusted the device. Today we are going to try something different. Familiar voices, short phrases, no pressure to identify words. Ava nodded. Madison looked nervous but stayed quiet. Rachel began with pre-recorded samples. Ava reacted to some, missed others, and stopped twice when she needed a break. Nobody called the missed responses failures. Nobody clapped when she succeeded. Then Rachel looked at Madison. Your turn. Madison sat across from Ava. What should I say? Rachel smiled. Something she knows belongs to you. Madison thought for several seconds. Then she said, pancakes on Sunday. Ava watched her face. Rachel transmitted the signal. Ava frowned. Again, Rachel said. Madison repeated, pancakes on Sunday. Ava's expression shifted. Not certainty. Recognition mixed with memory. She reached for the notepad. I know that rhythm. Madison's eyes filled immediately, but this time she stayed steady. You do? Ava nodded. She wrote another sentence. You always say it the same way. Madison laughed softly through her tears. Apparently I do. Ava looked toward Cole. He gave her a small nod. Nothing more. Rachel tried another phrase. Madison said, blueberry, not chocolate chip. Ava smiled before the signal ended. Madison froze. Did she understand that? Rachel shook her head gently. Maybe she recognized the pattern. Maybe context helped. We do not know yet. Madison breathed out. Right. No miracle. Ava signed. No miracle. Then she smiled. Good morning. Good enough. Cole looked down for a moment. The dignity in that sentence nearly undid him. After the session, Madison found him replacing filters near the west hallway. You are going to the veterans' dinner. Cole looked up sharply. How do you know that? Mercer told Rachel. Rachel told me. That sounds like a privacy problem. Madison laughed. You joke now. Rarely. She leaned against the wall. Ava wants to go too. Cole frowned. Why? Because she wants to meet Hannah. That is not the same event. No. But Mercer invited foundation families connected to the new accessibility program. Cole paused. What new accessibility program? Madison handed him a folder. Inside was a proposal for expanded hearing access, sign language services, and family counseling for children who had been treated like projects instead of people. Cole looked at her. You did this. Ava did. I paid attention. Cole read the first page again. Why show me? Because the program begins with one rule. He looked up. Madison said, nothing about us without us. Cole went still. Ava had written those words during a session 2 days earlier. Madison continued. I spent years speaking for her because I thought love gave me permission. And now I ask. Cole closed the folder slowly. That is harder. Much. Better too. Madison nodded. Much. At the far end of the corridor, Ava stood beside Rachel, waiting for the elevator. She saw Cole holding the folder and smiled. Then she signed something he had only recently learned well enough to understand. Your turn. Cole looked at Madison. What did she say? Madison asked. Cole stared at Ava for a long moment. She says I am next. And for the first time, he did not look away. The veterans' family dinner was held in a modest event hall outside Annapolis, far less polished than anything Madison usually attended. No chandeliers. No photographers. Just long tables, folded flags in glass cases, framed photographs, and families talking over plates of barbecue and cornbread. Cole almost turned around at the entrance. Hannah noticed. You can still leave, she said. Cole looked at her. You want to? No, then we stay. Hannah smiled. Good answer. Across the room, Admiral Mercer raised a hand when he saw them. Madison arrived 20 minutes later with Ava and Rachel, not as a billionaire host, but as a mother invited into somebody else's space. Ava spotted Hannah first. Hannah signed a careful hello. Ava's face brightened. She signed back faster than Hannah could follow, then laughed when Hannah admitted defeat. Within minutes they were sitting together, passing a notepad between them and ignoring the adults. Madison watched from a distance. She likes her. Cole nodded. Hannah makes that easy. Like her father? He glanced at Madison. Do not ruin the evening. She laughed softly. Mercer approached with 2 older veterans. Chief Bennett. Cole straightened automatically. Sir. One of the men extended a hand. Heard you disappeared into maintenance. Cole shook it. I did not disappear. Could have fooled us. The tone was teasing, not cruel, but Cole's shoulders tightened. Mercer noticed. He raised a daughter alone, he said. That is not disappearing. The table went quiet for a beat. Cole looked at Mercer. No praise had ever made him more uncomfortable. Hannah had heard enough to turn around. He did a pretty good job. Cole's face changed. Pretty good. Hannah grinned. Do not get emotional. Ava saw the exchange, but could not follow all of it. She tapped Hannah's arm. Hannah signed. They are embarrassing him. Ava nodded with immediate understanding. Later, Mercer asked Cole to join a small remembrance circle for veterans and families. Cole hesitated. Hannah did not push him. Madison did not either. That mattered. Finally, he stepped forward on his own. He spoke for less than a minute. Coming home was harder than I expected. I thought discipline would carry me through everything. It did not. My daughter did. Hannah lowered her eyes. Cole continued. I spent years believing strength meant being the person everyone could lean on. I was wrong. Sometimes strength is letting people see when you need something too. He stopped there. No dramatic story. No decorated history. Just truth. When he returned to the table, Ava slid her notepad toward him. You tried again. Cole read it and smiled. Yes. Ava underlined the word twice. The following week, Rachel completed another round of audiological testing. The results were encouraging enough to discuss a properly fitted bone conduction system designed for Ava's specific needs. Rachel explained that progress would take time, adjustment, and realistic expectations. This may help her access more sound information, she said. It may improve communication in certain situations. It will not change who she is, and it will not erase deafness. Madison nodded. Good. Rachel looked at Ava. What do you want? Ava wrote, I want to know what mom sounds like to me. Madison's eyes filled, but she kept her hands still. Rachel smiled. That is a good goal. Cole stood by the door, ready to leave before the fitting began. Ava stopped him with a gesture. Stay? He sat against the wall. Rachel fitted the clinical device carefully and checked Ava's comfort. Then Madison moved into the chair across from her. Ready? Ava nodded. Rachel activated the system at a controlled level. Madison spoke slowly. Pancakes on Sunday. Ava's eyes narrowed with concentration. Rachel adjusted. Madison repeated the phrase. Ava suddenly smiled. Not because she understood every word. because something in the pattern belonged to her mother now. She touched Madison's hand and wrote, "That one is you." Madison stared at the page. No speech came. No billionaire confidence. No polished answer. She simply covered Ava's hand with both of hers. Cole looked down. Rachel looked away. The room became quiet enough for dignity to have its own sound. Then Ava turned toward Cole and wrote another sentence. "What does your voice feel like?" Cole froze. Madison looked at him. Rachel waited. Cole slowly moved from the wall to the chair across from Ava. "Only if you want." Ava nodded. Rachel checked the setting again. Cole looked at the girl who had changed more than her own world and said the simplest words he could find. "You never needed fixing." Ava watched his face as the signal reached her. Her expression softened. Then she wrote, "Yours feels calm." Cole stared at the sentence until the words blurred. Hannah had once told him something similar years ago, before grief had made both of them quiet. Madison saw his face and understood that Ava was not the only person in the room hearing something new. For the next several days, Ava wore the properly fitted device only in short, carefully supervised sessions. Rachel adjusted the settings slowly, watching for fatigue and discomfort. Madison had learned not to ask, "Can you hear me now?" every 5 minutes. Instead, she asked, "Do you want to continue?" Sometimes Ava nodded. Sometimes she signed, "Enough?" And every time Madison respected the answer, something between them became easier. Cole stayed mostly in the background. He had gone back to fixing doors, checking lights, replacing filters, and pretending that the entire foundation had not started looking at him differently. A few staff members now knew about his Navy background. Some called him Chief. He corrected them once, then stopped trying. To Ava, he was still Cole. That mattered more. One Thursday afternoon, Rachel invited Madison into the testing room for a longer session. Ava had already been there 20 minutes. Cole was in the hallway repairing a cabinet hinge. Hannah sat nearby doing homework because Cole had picked her up from school early. Ava saw her and waved excitedly. Hannah signed, "How is it going?" Ava answered, "Strange." "Good." "Tiring." Hannah nodded as if that made perfect sense. Rachel smiled. "Today we are going to test familiar voices without letting Ava see who is speaking." Madison stiffened. "Is that necessary?" Rachel looked at Ava. She asked for it. Madison immediately relaxed. Then yes. A lightweight divider was placed between Ava and the speakers so she could not read lips. Rachel explained that there would be no guessing game and no score. If Ava did not know, she could simply say so. First came Rachel's voice. Ava detected the rhythm but did not identify her. Then Hannah spoke. Ava paused, smiled, and wrote, "Maybe Hannah." Hannah's eyes widened. "She got me." Rachel held up one hand. She recognized something. "That is enough." Then Madison sat behind the divider. Her hands trembled. Cole noticed from the doorway. "Breathe," he said quietly. Madison glanced back at him. "Easy for you to say." "No, it is not." She almost smiled. Rachel gave the signal. Madison spoke the phrase Ava had heard many times now. "Pancakes on Sunday." Ava went completely still. Rachel repeated the transmission. Madison said it again. Ava's eyes filled with concentration. Then she reached for the notepad. "Mom." One word. Nothing more. Madison stared at Rachel. She knew. Rachel's voice stayed measured. She recognized a familiar pattern strongly enough to identify you. "That is meaningful." Madison looked toward Ava, but the divider was still between them. "Can I go to her?" Rachel pointed to Ava. "Ask her." Madison signed over the top of the divider. "Can I come closer?" Ava nodded. Madison walked around slowly and sat beside her daughter. She did not hug her first. She waited. Ava leaned into her on her own. Madison closed her eyes. For years she had imagined this moment as something loud, dramatic, impossible to misunderstand. Instead, it was almost silent. A child resting against her mother. A hand gripping a sleeve. A breath breaking softly. That was all. Cole turned away to give them privacy. Hannah touched his arm. "You are doing it again." "Doing what?" "Leaving when something matters." Cole looked at her. Hannah pointed toward the room. "You helped them get here. You do not have to disappear because they are happy." Cole's face tightened. "This is their moment." "I know." She paused. "But you are allowed to have moments too." Before Cole could answer, Ava separated from Madison and looked toward the doorway. She signed for him to come in. Cole hesitated. Hannah gave him a look that made the decision for him. He entered and took the chair across from Ava. Rachel checked the device again. Ava pointed at Cole, then at the divider. She wants to try your voice without seeing you, Rachel said. Cole looked at Ava. You sure? Ava nodded. He moved behind the divider. The room became still again. Cole thought about what to say. Not something impressive. Not something military. Not even something about hearing. Finally, he chose the sentence he had written for her at the beginning. You do not have to prove anything. Rachel transmitted the signal. Ava's head lifted. Cole repeated the words. Ava closed her eyes. Then she wrote slowly. Calm. Madison looked at the page. Rachel looked at Cole. Hannah smiled from the doorway. Ava wrote one more line and turned it toward him. I knew it was you. Cole stood behind the divider without speaking. The man who had spent years believing his value came from what he could fix had just been recognized by a child for something quieter. His presence, his steadiness, his voice, and for once, he let himself stay. 3 weeks later, the Sterling Foundation auditorium was full again, but this time there was no demonstration table under harsh lights and no room waiting for a child to perform. Madison had changed the event completely. The new accessibility program would provide hearing evaluations, sign language support, counseling, and family resources without requiring children to become symbols for donors. Ava had approved the language herself. Cole had read the proposal twice and changed only one sentence. Instead of helping children overcome silence, it now said helping families communicate with dignity. Madison kept that line. Before the event began, Rachel checked Ava's fitted bone conduction system and reminded everyone that one successful day did not guarantee another. Ava nodded. She understood that better than anyone. Some sounds were still difficult. Some patterns came clearly. Some days the device felt tiring and she preferred silence. None of those days were called failure anymore. Hannah stood beside her near the side aisle. Practicing signs she kept getting wrong on purpose just to make Ava laugh. Cole stayed near the back wall in a clean gray work shirt, uncomfortable in a room where several people now knew exactly who he had once been. Admiral Mercer stood beside him. You could wear a suit once in your life, Mercer said. I own one. That is not the same as wearing it. Cole almost smiled. Across the room, Madison stepped to the microphone. She looked toward Ava before speaking. Ava nodded. Only then did Madison begin. For years, I believed love meant finding every answer before my daughter had to ask the question. I was wrong. The room became quiet. Sometimes love means making room for someone else's answer. She did not mention Cole's military record. She did not turn Ava's progress into a miracle. She did not promise that technology would give every deaf child the same experience. Instead, she talked about access, choice, respect, and families learning to communicate in more than one way. Cole listened from the back. Mercer glanced at him. You did that. Cole shook his head. They did. Still hiding. Still accurate. Then Madison surprised him. There is one person I do want to thank. Cole immediately looked toward the exit. Hannah saw it. Do not even think about it. I was checking the door. Sure. Madison continued. He never promised to fix my daughter. In fact, he was the first person who refused to. Cole stopped moving. He noticed what the rest of us were too busy trying to solve. He saw Ava. Madison looked directly at him. And he reminded me that dignity begins where control ends. No applause came at first. Madison had asked the room beforehand not to turn every emotional moment into noise. The silence that followed was not empty. It was respect. Ava walked toward Cole with Hannah beside her and handed him a folded note. He opened it. You stayed. Cole looked at her. So did you. Ava smiled. Later, after the guests left, Madison found Cole in the auditorium stacking chairs with the custodial team. You know we have people for that, she said. I am people. That answer is becoming annoying. Still true. She held out an envelope. Cole looked at it and immediately shook his head. No, you do not know what it is. If it is money, no. It is not. He opened it cautiously. Inside was a formal offer to serve as civilian advisor to the Foundation's Accessibility and Family Resilience Program, part-time, without leaving his maintenance position unless he chose to. Cole read the page. Why me? Because you understand equipment. Madison paused. And because you understand when equipment is not the point. Cole looked toward Ava and Hannah near the stage, both laughing over something written on a notepad. I need to talk to Hannah. Madison smiled. Good answer. 2 months later, Ava was still deaf. Some mornings, she wore the bone conduction device for hours. Other days, she removed it after 20 minutes and signed that she wanted quiet. Rachel continued working with her. Madison continued learning sign language and became better at waiting for answers. Cole accepted the advisory role for 2 afternoons a week. He still fixed doors on the other days. Hannah attended the veteran's family dinner with him twice more, and Cole stopped standing near the exits. On one Sunday morning, Madison brought Ava to Cole's house for pancakes. Hannah burned the first batch. Ava sat at the kitchen table wearing her device, watching Madison pour coffee. Madison looked over and said the familiar words, "Pancakes on Sunday." Ava's face changed. She smiled before Madison finished. Then Ava removed the device, set it gently beside her plate, and signed the same phrase back. Madison laughed. Cole leaned against the counter, watching them. Nobody asked whether Ava had heard every word. Nobody needed proof. The miracle had never been that silence disappeared. It was that silence stopped frightening them. And in a small kitchen filled with burnt pancakes, written jokes, imperfect signs, familiar vibrations, and second chances, for people finally understood that being heard had never depended on sound alone.